Israel's longest-serving leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, has held office 6 times, more than any other prime minister in the country's history. He began his career in Israeli politics as a staunch critic of the 1993 Oslo peace process between Israel and the Palestinian Liberation Organization. He famously attended far-right rallies where crowds chanted "Death to Arabs" and "Death to Rabin," Israel's prime minister at the time, who pushed for a settlement with the PLO. A month later, Rabin was killed by a religious nationalist. Netanyahu was blamed for fanning the flames of far-right extremism that led to Rabin's death. Over the years of his premiership, Netanyahu has always been elusive about Palestinian statehood, but now he openly and outrightly rejects an independent Palestinian state.
כל הסדר בעתיד הנראה לעין, עם הסדר, בלי הסדר, מדינת ישראל חייבת לשלוט ביטחונית על כל השטח מערבית לירדן. זה תנאי הכרחי, וזה מתנגש עם רעיון הריבונות, מה לעשות?
Netanyahu is not a religious hardliner. In 2023, he came under criticism in Israel for images of him eating at a non-kosher restaurant in London. But he has found strong allies among religious conservatives who share his vision of derailing the two-state solution. He's been in and out of power since 1996. His failure to prevent the 7 of October attacks and Israel's inability to win a decisive victory in Gaza, despite killing more than 40,000 Palestinians, including women and children, has hurt his credibility at home and abroad. So just who is Benjamin Netanyahu, and how did he come to wield so much influence over Israel's destiny? Benjamin Netanyahu was born in Jaffa in 1949 to conservative Zionist parents. He was raised in Jerusalem and went to high school in the US after his family moved there. He returned to Israel to serve in the Israeli army and fought in the Arab-Israeli War in 1973. In 1976, Netanyahu's brother Jonathan was killed leading a raid to rescue hostages from a hijacked airliner in Entebbe, Uganda. It would have a profound impact on the Netanyahus. The family then moved back to Israel from the US. Netanyahu set up an anti-terrorism institute in his brother's memory. A turning point came in 1982 when Netanyahu became Israel's deputy chief of mission in Washington. Overnight, his public profile was launched, an articulate English speaker with a distinctive American accent. He became a familiar face on US television and an effective advocate for Israel. He was appointed Israel's permanent representative at the UN in New York in 1984. In 1988, he won a seat for the right-wing Likud party in the Knesset and became deputy foreign minister. In 1993, he became the leader of the Likud party and a fierce opponent of the 1993 Oslo peace accords. He went on to become Israel's youngest prime minister in 1996 after campaigning to stop the peace process and guarantee that all of Jerusalem would stay under Israeli control. One of his first acts as PM was to open a tunnel exit under Al-Aqsa Mosque complex, which sparked Palestinian protests known as the Western Wall riots. The move infringed on the Muslim quarter of the complex and reneged on previous agreements regarding the rights of Palestinians. In 1999, Netanyahu lost the Likud leadership to Ariel Sharon and regained it only after Sharon left Likud to form Kadima in 2005. In 2009, he was elected prime minister for a second time. Netanyahu's political career has been marred by legal battles, and in 2019, he was charged with fraud, bribery, and a breach of trust. This includes taking gifts from millionaire friends and allegedly seeking favors for media tycoons in return for favorable coverage. He could be sentenced to up to 10 years in jail if convicted in a bribery case, but he's denied any wrongdoing. After calls for him to resign from Israeli politicians and public protests against him, Netanyahu lost the 2021 elections. But less than a year later, Netanyahu was back. In November 2022, Israel elected its most right-wing government to date. Netanyahu held on to power by forging a coalition between his Likud party and religious Zionism. This included the ultra-nationalist Otzma Yehudit party, Jewish Power, which is led by the far-right politician Itamar Ben-Gvir, a leader so extreme he was once banned from entering elections. Ben-Gvir has long admired extremist Rabbi Meir Kahane, and until recently had in his home a portrait of terrorist Baruch Goldstein, an American Israeli who killed 29 Palestinian worshippers in Hebron in 1994. Netanyahu has since rejected calls for an independent Palestinian state, saying his country needs full security control over Palestinian territories. Netanyahu has long prided himself on being Mr. Security. Under his administration, Israel installed the $1.1 billion Iron Dome system to intercept rockets from the Gaza Strip, tightened the blockade on the enclave, and led 4 wars there. During his premiership and long before 7 October, Israeli settlements expansion continually increased in Palestinian territories, and calls to annex the West Bank had become amplified. But his security credentials among his supporters after Hamas's attack on Israel on 7 October have been shattered, and the untold suffering that Israel under his leadership has inflicted on Gaza has left him vulnerable. Since October 2023, Israel's government has also accelerated construction projects of settlements in East Jerusalem and issued the largest land grab since Oslo, approving the appropriation of 12.7 square kilometers of land in the Jordan Valley. He started his reign in a period when the peace process was still possible, but Netanyahu rose to power and held on to it by appeasing ultra-right-wing Zionists and undermining the peace process, Palestinian rights, and any chance of Palestinian statehood. As the years have gone by, that trend has only increased, and security for Israel and liberation for Palestinians have only become more elusive.